Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Love shouldn't be a one-way street. Today in the rLounge, the bank of Big Sis realizes it's running low on emotional reserves. Sister refuses to help me whenever I ask, so I cut her off financially, and now she's in serious trouble. Alright, so here's the thing. I've been financially enabling my younger sister for years. Recently, there have been incidents that made me question myself. Let me start from the beginning, because I need advice now more than ever. I'm the older sibling by about 8 years. She's currently 20, and I'm 28. We come from a fairly tight-knit family. And being the eldest, I've always felt a sense of responsibility. Our parents did their best, but money was often tight. And when I landed a good job straight out of college, I was proud to be able to help my family financially. When I started working, my sister just graduated junior high school. I've been supporting her in some capacity ever since. When she went to college, I paid for things our parents couldn't, like good clothes, a laptop, makeup, and even sponsored her college trips. I didn't mind because I figured it was what older siblings did. I had lived that life of scarcity, and I know how terrible you feel when you see your friends wearing these clothes, carrying those gadgets, going on trips without you. You feel so left out and miserable when not being able to do basic stuff with friends. Besides, I had the means to help her. Things were mostly fine until now. She'd ask for help here and there, and I was always willing to step up. Whenever she'd text me with a, "Hey sis, I'm low on cash, can you spot me $50 for groceries?" I'd send the money without a second thought. It felt good to be in a position to help her, especially because I knew how hard it could be trying to make ends meet while balancing schoolwork. It wasn't just the occasional $50 here and there. In her sophomore year, I'd help her cover an entire semester's worth of tuition when she lost her scholarship because her grades slipped. She swore it was a one-time mistake and that she'd get things back on track. And she did come back on track, and I couldn't be prouder. There was one time when she called me that she was going on a trip with her friends. She had already booked the flight and the hotel, but was short on spending money. She wanted to opt out, but then I pitched it and gave her the money so she could go on that vacation. I didn't want her to miss out and be the one friend who couldn't go because of a money shortage. You see, I don't have any problem spending on her. What really has been bothering me is that I never get anything in return from her. Of course, I didn't expect any financial gains from her, but I expect her to have my back in the same way I had hers. Sadly, that never happens. It started hitting me a while ago. 4 months back, my husband and I moved to a new apartment. We both had a long day at work, and all I needed was some help unpacking a few boxes. I called my sister thinking she'd be happy to come over and lend a hand for a couple of hours, but she had plans. I don't remember what the reason she gave, but it was something trivial like her friends were coming over. Though she said she would come and help the next day. I asked her not to. My expectation was hurt. Later on, I thought maybe I felt too entitled to her help. She has a life too, and I cannot expect her to rush to me last minute. Then, there was the time I had the flu. I was bedridden for days and felt awful. One of those days after my husband left for work, I realized I ran out of meds and was also craving for some hot soup. Her place is closer than my husband's office, so I asked if she could stop by and grab me some soup and meds, since I couldn't leave the house. She said she'd try to stop by, but never showed. When I confronted her about it later, she said she was caught up in her assignment and it slipped her mind. That stung because it was a serious situation and I needed help. I had never asked her for much, and the one time I really needed her, she let me down. Later, she apologized that she was really busy and couldn't attend me. I let it slide. I didn't make a big deal out of it, but it was the first time I started to really feel imbalance. Here I was, constantly helping her out of tight spots, and when I asked for something as small as an hour of her time, she couldn't be bothered. I know it sounds easy that I can just cut her off all support and we're done. It's not that smooth. I really love her. It's so complicated that it's difficult to discuss it with anyone. Like when I was getting married, she stood by me rock solid. Helped me with everything, from shopping to arranging stuff to getting things done. Not to mention she was my maid of honor and I bought her designer wear for the reception. The thing is, I help her out of empathy because I have been in a situation where I couldn't do fun stuff because of the money shortage. However, I don't feel she reciprocates my love. Not that she's disrespectful or something. She's extremely loving and caring when she's around, that when she's not and I ask for help, I don't get that backing from her. How do I put this? Like, I can cross mountains for her, but I don't think she would. I discussed this with my husband and he said I cannot expect the same level of love in return. Her birthday is approaching and every year I have been gifting her something or the other, but this year I don't want to gift her anything. I'm hurt, so to say, because I don't feel appreciated. I'm also in two minds because I don't want to ruin what I have with my sister. It has been a beautiful relationship until now. What should I do? Seems like your sister took the treat yourself concept a bit too literally. Except you're the one footing the bill. For her birthday, why not try giving her the gift of perspective? Write a heartfelt letter instead of buying something expensive. Let her know how much you love her, but also gently remind her of the times you needed her support. If that doesn't work, cut her off. Update 1. The mod took a while to post it, and I'm sorry if I sounded confused to many of you. The thing is, I was confused. That's the reason I posted here to get some advice. Nonetheless, I have now moved past that foggy state. So, I decided to confront her directly instead of making my assumptions. One day we were out to lunch, and as usual, I paid the bill because she doesn't earn. She's still in her final year of college. Like I said, I don't mind paying for her unless she reciprocates and appreciates my love. On the drive back, I decided to bring it up. I told her about my feelings. I felt like I was being taken for granted, and that I was always helping her out but never getting any help in return. To her credit, she didn't blow up at me. Instead, she got quiet and apologized. She said she loved me and never meant to take advantage of me. She claimed there had always been a genuine reason to turn me down. She acknowledged that it was valid for me to think it this way. She promised to do better, and I believed her. I wanted to give her another chance to our relationship. For a while after our conversation, things seemed to improve slightly. I didn't give her any gifts on her birthday. She said she was just happy that I showed up for the celebration. She also said that she understood now that I have married. I have other commitments, and it's okay if she moved down on my priority list. It was quite mature of her to admit this gracefully. She didn't ask for money after that, and I thought maybe we'd finally turned a corner. Then, almost 2 months later, she called me saying her phone slipped off her hand and broke. She couldn't afford a new one and asked if I could loan her the money. I was hesitant, but ultimately agreed because I knew she needed a phone for her assignments. I sent her the money, and then a few days later, I saw her status, flaunting the latest iPhone. Not a budget model as I had expected. I was shocked. I mean, the money I gave her was half the price of an iPhone. I meant that she paid half of its price. If she had that much money, she could have bought any other decent phone instead of borrowing money from me. I confronted her, and she shrugged it off, saying, "Well, if I'm going to get a new phone, I might as well get a good one, right?" I asked where did you get the rest of the money, and she said she had saved it from her part-time job. I was like, you blew up your savings on that phone while you struggle half the time to make ends meet. She rolled her eyes and said, "YOLO." That was the point when I realized that she wasn't just struggling financially. She was living beyond her means and expecting me to fund her lifestyle. It wasn't about necessity anymore. It was about convenience. Then about a few weeks later, she reached out to me saying she wanted to buy a car and needed my help for a down payment. I freaked out at the idea she wanted to have a car when she could barely fend for herself. Her college is in the city heartland and is well connected by tubes and buses. Had it been in the suburbs, it was understandable. She wanted to have a car only because she wanted to look cool. I said, "I'm sorry, I can't volunteer for that. It's just too much." As a sister, I tried to impart some financial sense to her that it was an unnecessary possession. She got upset because she was really looking forward to owning one. I suggested she buy it after getting a full-time job, but she wasn't ready to wait until then. I said, "I'm out of this." She started nagging like a 4-year-old. She said, "I know you can afford to give me the money, but you're withholding it just to keep me away from having a car." It was casual and light until she started pestering me hard for it and saying something that really hurt me. She said I was neglecting her after getting married and that I don't love her anymore as I used to. I clarified that I still love her, but I don't want to enable her anymore. She promised it was the last time she was asking me for a favor. I got annoyed at her nagging. I set my foot down and no. She was very upset, but she didn't say anything. She left after a while. We usually remain in touch through chats and sharing memes, but after that evening, our conversation got silent. I too didn't reach out and let her sleep over it. Then a week later, I texted her that I was planning a surprise birthday for my husband and wanted her to take care of a few things. To my shock, she replied. She was busy, would not be able to make it to the party. Okay, now I'm not saying she cannot decline an invite. She has her life too, but she did it out of spite. The way she responded got on my nerves. I mean, she bluntly said no without any explanation. It was just so cold and evident that she was still mad at me. She was behaving as if I owed her the money. I called her out for her mean reply, and she called me selfish. It blew my mind. How on earth was I selfish? She said I was trying to insinuate my financial beliefs on her and deliberately creating austerity for her just because I lived in that life. I agree I couldn't afford these stuffs back in the day, and that was the reason I was letting her have some of them, but it's completely outrageous to say that I'm intentionally making her suffer. I said, if you're so keen on having a car, go and buy one. Who's stopping you? I just advise you not to have one right now and wait until you have a full-time job. Now it's up to you what you do." That was the end of our conversation. Then on my husband's birthday, I saw her Instagram post with a brand new car. She didn't show up for the party. I realized our relationship has spiraled down, and it would be foolish of me to hope that she understands or appreciates me. Friends and family were congratulating her for the car, but I didn't. Why would I? She didn't even have the courtesy to inform me. I'm getting the update from social media. Why would I even bother? It's been weeks now, and we are no contact. I have made up my mind, and I'm not going to let her exploit me. Whatever I did for her until now, it was out of love, but it's over. Honestly, it sounds like she's been treating you more like her personal hedge fund than a family member. Good on you for setting boundaries. The fact that she didn't show up for your husband's birthday and instead flaunted her new car on Instagram is her way of proving a point, just not the one she thinks. Update 2. Here's an update. So, as I mentioned, I cut off all contact with my sister after she gaslighted me for not giving her the money for buying a car and then going behind my back and buying one without informing me. I was leading my life in peace, saving money and energy from the drama. My mom would sometimes lament about our fallout. Our bond was special, and my parents were really proud of us. I mean, how often do you find such a strong sibling bond? But I guess everything comes to an end. Well, the new development in the situation is that my sister reached out to me 2 weeks back. She's knee-deep in debt. She defaulted on her car mortgage for over 4 months, and hence it got seized by the bank. The collection officer has threatened her to clear off the dues by a week, or else her car would be put up for auction. She's now in tears because it's her first car and she doesn't want to lose it like this. I told her no, I can't help you. She said, "I know you're mad that I didn't attend your husband's birthday. I know it was very stupid of me to do that. You know I love you, just that I was really hurt. Out of everyone in the world, I thought you would understand me, but when you two turned your back, I felt disastrous. I really wanted to have this car, so I went ahead despite your caution. Please, 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 save my butt. You know I love you. I love you." She love-bombed me and tried to emotionally manipulate me, saying our bond is divine and we should preserve it and we shouldn't let our differences come our way. I said I acknowledge all the love and respect she has for me, but I also have certain obligations now and I cannot give her my arms and legs every time she demands. I reminded her of all the times I had been there for her and how she had let me down every time I had sought for help. She pleaded with me that she didn't turn me down intentionally and that she deeply cared about me. I told her I had my own bills to pay and that I couldn't be bailing her out. That's when she lost it. She accused me of being vindictive, of turning her down just to get back at her for not helping me in the past. She was like, "You're doing this only to get back at me, aren't you? You want to prove your point that you were right and I was a jerk to buy this car. I can't believe you derive pleasure in my misery. How could you be so heartless and petty?" I stood my ground, but it hurt to hear her say those things. I wasn't trying to punish her. I was trying to teach her that she needed to take responsibility for her own life. She stormed out of my house with a bitter face. We continued to remain out of touch. She called up our parents and told them I abandoned her when she needed me the most. She called me vindictive to anyone who would listen. Our family and relatives started to get involved, and there was a lot of gossip going around. My mom and aunt took her side, saying I was overreacting and should have helped her because that's what family does. My dad and grandparents understood my side and said I was right to set boundaries. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about her never learning to be responsible for herself. If I kept bailing her out, she'd never change. She pleaded with our parents to help her save her car. It held a sentimental value as it was her first car after all, and she wanted to save it at all costs. Mom somehow arranged the money and helped her out. The thing is, it's futile to help her. No one can pay off the entire mortgage for her, and seeing her lifestyle, it's a matter of time before she again piles up debt and all of Mom's savings, which she lent to her, would go for a loss. I know it's her money, and she knows the repercussions of lending her, but it hurts to see the money getting drained. My parents are still working hard to save for their retirement house, and instead of helping them, she's exploiting them. Anyway, I'm trying to keep myself away from all this drama. I have my own life to focus on. I think it was good that I distanced myself from my sister because considering her spending habits, she's going to create bigger problems for herself in the long run. Update 3. I couldn't be more accurate when I predicted her problems in my last post. My sister now lands up in serious trouble. For a few days back, she came knocking at my door almost at midnight. I was scared to see her at that hour. I had to open the door because, God forbid, she might be in danger. As soon as I opened the door, she hugged me and started crying. She was in a full-blown panic mode. She kept apologizing for not listening to my advice and for being spiteful to me. She was shivering and had a temperature. I calmed her down and asked her the details. She was in another mess. After Mom helped her pay the dues, she got a job and paid the mortgage, but eventually something came up and she was again left behind on her bill payment. She used her credit card to pay the mortgage for a few months. She maxed out her card limit and didn't have the money to pay the bills. The bank is chasing her to clear the dues. Now she's not worried about the car anymore. She's in a bigger problem if she didn't pay her credit card bill. They were threatening legal action, and she had no idea what to do. She begged me to step in and pay off the debt before it ruined her credit and her life. I asked her why did she sneak in so late in the night. She said that the collection officer had been chasing her so badly that she had been crashing on her friend's couch for a while, but now that also doesn't seem to be a viable option. She has also switched off her number to avoid repeated and rough calls from the bank. I couldn't believe she landed in such big trouble. Not only did she use the credit card to pay the car mortgage, but also to pay for some of the stuff that she really couldn't afford. She had racked up thousands of dollars in debt, most of it from shopping, eating out, and other non-essential expenses. Now, she needed me to bail her out because she was in over her head. This wasn't just a couple $100s. This was thousands, and she needed it fast, or the bank would come after her. I felt sick to my stomach, not just because of the amount, but because it was clear she had learned nothing. She wasn't trying to fix her spending habits or get her life in order. She was just relying on me to clean up her mess as usual. I was torn. On one hand, this was serious and I didn't want her life to fall apart. But on the other hand, I knew that if I stepped in again, nothing would change. She would never learn, and this cycle would continue forever. I told her I couldn't help. I didn't even complete my sentence. She snapped at me, called me heartless and selfish, and accused me of ruining her life out of spite. I was stunned at her behavior. I felt she was a completely different being, and I no longer knew her. My husband pitched in. He was like, she's in a serious mess, and we need to help her before she gets into more trouble. He offered to loan her the amount to pay off her credit card and asked her to sell off her car. But her sheer audacity, she didn't agree to a loan. She wanted money without the obligation to pay it back. Also, she wasn't ready to sell her car. That was the last nail in her coffin. I told her, you're no longer my problem, and I don't care what happens to you now. She also reached out to the parents for help, but this time I informed them in prior what had happened and how she snapped at me and my husband. My parents also chased her away and let her face the consequences of her actions. I have cut off all communication with her so that I don't bump into her life updates on social media. Good on you for standing firm, OP. It's exhausting when someone refuses to learn from their mistakes and expects the world, or in this case, you and your parents, to catch them each time they fall. It's clear that no amount of financial aid can fix her lack of accountability. The fact that she rejected help when conditions were attached, like repaying the loan or selling the car, shows she still isn't interested in learning any real lessons. I'm glad your husband and parents are on your side. She needs to learn that no one is going to enable her lifestyle anymore, and until she faces the reality of her actions, she'll never grow. Let her deal with the fallout. Perhaps this is the wake-up call she truly needs. Do you have a freeloading sibling? Share your stories with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.